1. I don't exactly remember what time I saw it, but it's probably been half an hour, and I'm still sitting in bed freaked out. I don't want to say I'm one of those spiritual people because morons have made that word almost meaningless, but I am. I do believe that there are beings beyond our understanding, perhaps on a different plane of existence that we can barely comprehend. Nonetheless, I'm not sure what to explain this as, but I'm not comfortable enough to sleep despite being tired. I woke up to my cat trying to go out of my window. That's no problem. I let her out and she leaves, and I have to use the bathroom. So I do. And when I come back, I'm just chilling in bed looking at my wall. My room used to be the dining room, and has 2 massive windows in it that I cover with a shower curtain design. I just closed it because my cat went out, and I don't like any light in my room at night, so I made sure there was none. When I was laying down, I noticed a relatively big patch of neon green light in my room. At first, it confused me because I thought it was one of the glow-in-the-dark stars that I have all over my room, except it's been dark for hours, and the stars in my room aren't even glowing anymore. The problem is that it was bigger than the biggest star shape I had, and it wasn't in the shape of a star. It sat in my wall or under the corner of a poster. This wouldn't be a problem if not for the fact that it literally should not be possible. I turned my light on and it disappeared off the wall. And I walked over to touch the spot, and even moved the corner of the picture just to see there was nothing there. I have a nightmare condition that gives me many bad dreams, but I've never been the kind of person to hallucinate or just see things like that. I hear things sometimes. I see things when I'm paranoid. But I wasn't paranoid at all when I saw this. My vision is bad and I wear contacts, but even then it shouldn't change the fact that what I saw was a random patch of glowing green light, the same color as the stars. I spent so much time Googling it and looking into it, but there was no answer. It seems a few people have experienced a random green light before, but not how I'm describing it. People see it as a dot on the wall that shouldn't be there, or the light moves. For me, the light didn't move. I didn't bother to stare for too long as I quickly became freaked out and had to turn on my light. I don't understand. I don't know why this happened, but I hate it a lot and want an explanation. Serious replies only, please. I don't want to hear about a ghost that probably isn't there. 2. I will begin this story with a quick note about the home I grew up in. The home was an old mill home that was moved from one location to where it stands now, and a basement was dug during the construction by my family. The home looks like your normal home unless you really look at it. There is a window above the garage that always seemed to give me an eerie feeling, like someone was watching me from there. Now, I've never seen anyone standing there. However, you can't rid yourself of that uneasy feeling. Growing up, I had multiple paranormal occurrences. My father raised me and my sister in that home, so she and I had spent plenty of time alone. When I was a younger child, I never slept without a light, TV, or radio on. I needed noise, light, to distract me from feeling uneasy, watched. I don't know of any other history of my home, except that it was motivated. I feel whatever is in that house is unhappy about the fact. The house almost feels cursed in a way. I do not have the same nostalgic sense that people get from seeing or visiting their childhood home. Even today when I visit, I feel uncomfortable. One day, I was left alone in my preteen years. I was a fairly reasonable kid, and I was just playing on the computer while my father was out running some errands. I heard a voice coming through the speakers, which was impossible as the computer was not hooked to the internet, nor was I playing a game that had voices as I was playing solitaire on Windows. Next, I heard heavy, loud footsteps coming from the hallway towards the room I was in. They sounded a lot like the cowboy boots that my dad always wore. Hello? Dad? No answer. I wasn't freaked out until I peeked out the room and saw no one. I ran outside and the truck was not there. I instantly picked up the house phone to call my dad, and when hitting the green call button, the phone made a loud screeching sound. I dropped the phone where I stood without hanging up and ran outside until my dad showed up about 30 minutes later. Of course, I tried to tell him what happened, and he replied, "Oh, you probably just picked up a semi-driver's radio on the computer, and you're just hearing things." I couldn't believe he thought that I was making this up. Over the years, I didn't have many problems with the home until I was alone again in my bedroom, studying on my bed. My cat Spock was sitting with me on my book. After an hour or so, he suddenly got up and fluffed up, fur standing up on edge. Staring towards my open closet, he hissed and spat at what seemed like nothing. The room got cold, and I of course got up to see what he could be so frightened of. Nothing was there, nor did I hear anything. That was until I heard whispering outside of my bedroom door. I quickly swung it open, and again nothing was there. I wrote it off as the heater making noise and went to bed. Or tried. I laid down, lamp still on, when all of a sudden my radio turned itself on. This was an old radio without a remote, so there was no way it could turn on without hitting the button. I didn't sleep that night. My story picks back up when I was 18. I lived alone in the house as my father had picked up a job in another state. I had a friend over for the night, and after our movie marathon we tried to go to bed. As we sat there in the quiet dark, he said, "You hear that?" "Hear what?" I asked. "Those voices. There are people talking." "What?" "Shh." He silenced me. As we sat in the darkness, you could hear two people whispering to each other outside my bedroom. I got up to investigate, and there was no one there. "Screw this," he said. I picked up my cell phone to call my dad, and instead of the phone ringing, I got a message saying that the number wasn't in service. "Impossible," I said. We ran outside and I drove to a church parking lot. I dialed my dad again, and it went through, but he didn't answer. I called my best friend to ask if we could sleep at her house for the night, and she agreed. That friend spent many nights at my house as a child, and she also felt the unease in my home and understood. My last paranormal experience happened when I moved back into my parents' home, after a failed relationship many years later in 2017. I was taking a nap on the couch while my dad was out, and I was woken up by someone whispering in my ear. "Hey." I swung up off the couch and grabbed my cell phone. When I tried to call my dad, it did the same exact screeching sound that the home phone did all those years ago. Again, I sat outside crying, waiting on him to get home. He still didn't believe what I had experienced, and to this day still writes it off. 3. This happened back at the end of December 2021. I was working as a security guard in a big museum, which is the former castle of Augustus II of Saxony. We had to shut down because, you know the reason, and had not much work to do. Mostly I and my co-workers had to come in because we had to look after workers who fixed electric stuff such as lights and chandeliers. It was the perfect time, because nobody else was allowed in the castle, so they could work at their own speed, which meant for us security guards that we often had to be there for 10 to 11 hours. Just looking after those guys, if they even showed up. Sometimes they just didn't. Because it was the winter, it became dark very early, meaning it was sometimes kind of creepy walking all alone through the big halls of the castle. But nothing was as creepy as the stuff I experienced in the antechambers and the throne room of Augustus II. These rooms were the main attraction, covered in golden ornaments and red royal carpets on every wall, all remade by hand after most of it got destroyed back in World War II. There was this big iron door at the first hall separating the chambers from the rest of the museum. I once had the shift that would walk around the west part of the second floor to close all the doors in the evening, from the tower room at the end of the chambers. It was all going well until I stood in the second antechamber just before the throne room, when I suddenly heard steps from the exact other side of the wall. There was the former garderobe of Augustus II, as well as some of his wife's dresses. The rooms originally led to the bedchamber, but were separated by a big, heavy oak door that it was hard to open and was loud as fuck if you did so. Now, there were those steps. I turned around looking into the first antechamber, but I saw nothing. The big iron door was still closed, so I went through the hall, around the corner to the garderobe. Maybe someone from the castle used a fire exit to look for something in the exhibition, but there was nobody in there. Even as I walked around the whole 2 rooms, looking in every corner, I found nothing at all. So I went back, and now, back in the throne room, and just as I entered it, I heard those steps again, but this time, they went exactly from one of the garderobe rooms right into the bedroom, which was separated by this big oak door. I rushed into the bedroom, looked around, and there was nobody. The big oak door was still closed, and the steps had vanished. I got out since there was nobody in there, and told this to one of my coworkers who was waiting outside so he could finally turn on the alarm system. I even asked him if he saw someone coming out of the exhibition, which he answered with a no, but then told me that this was not the first time someone heard steps, especially in the chambers. A few other security guards encountered this exact same phenomenon, and nobody could explain what this is. Jokingly, he said that some believe Augustus II is still walking through his golden chambers, checking if we protect them the way he wants to. 4. This happened last night. I was walking in the upstairs hallway at night. It was pitch black, a natural darkness, nothing odd or ominous about it. I was feeling amongst the wall, trying to find the doorway to my bedroom. I didn't turn on the light because I would have to walk back to turn it off, so kind of a moot point. Besides, I know where the room is, or so I thought. I found an opening, but quickly realized it was the stairwell's doorway. My room was right next to the stairs, so I moved towards my room. Being right up against the wall, I lost my footing just a bit. Now I know what gravity feels like, having lost it so often and frequent. I fell a couple of steps and was able to stop myself. I let out a slight eep, and landing on my knees facing the hallway. I tried to pick myself up. Nothing major right now, just fell on my injured knee. But nothing damaging. Picked up my right leg, the one with the injured knee, and positioned to stand up. Went to pick up my left leg, couldn't move it. It's not broken, but it felt like something was holding me down. Then it happened. My left leg was pulled out from under me and down the stairs. I have had paranormal experiences all my life. With the stories I tell, yeah, people can think I'm making it up, I don't care. Throughout all 39 years of living, and even about 3 or 4 of those living in an old funeral home, I had nothing be this physical with me. I couldn't pull my leg up, which is why I know this isn't gravity. I might lose to it eventually, but I win in the end. No, I can feel something pulling my ankle to the point where it was almost hyperextended. Well, that's how it felt. I grabbed the railing and pulled myself up while I was being dragged down. My right leg had a good footing. I was pulling with my left arm, but I was still losing this tug-of-war for what I felt like was my life. Suddenly, I heard running in the hallway and Corn, my wife, yelling, "Are you okay?" Then I could pull myself up. She heard me falling down the steps. She was so worried she jumped out of bed not caring what she was wearing and helped me up to my feet. I told her I slipped, which was true. But I waited till morning to tell her what happened due to waking one of the children up as well. I'm okay. My left leg is in immense pain, but nothing broken. I don't usually jump to the paranormal when it comes to events like this, but I swear, I can still feel the hand on my ankle. 5. I've always had weird experiences with haunted houses, but I've noticed a lot in the past 2 or so years. In any house, I hear strange noises and notice objects in different places than before. I just know it's haunted. Not in the paranoid sense, but just a certainty that there's something here with me. I don't feel afraid or in danger or anything. It's just a feeling of acceptance and certainty that there's something here. I don't experience this feeling any other time. It's a very strange feeling as well. The best examples I can give to explain it better are these. One, my girlfriend's old house was haunted in the basement. She always told me that there were weird noises that happened that can't be explained. So there was a situation where I had to live with her for a month and a half, about a year and a half ago, and I had to stay in that basement. It's a very open basement, having only wooden beams and pillars to keep the house up. One night I kept feeling like I was being watched, so I kept looking at one window they had looking into the backyard. But then I looked left towards the opposite and completely black corner of the basement, and I start getting this tingly vibration feeling in my head, but only in the top part where my brain is. It felt like my whole brain was vibrating, kind of gentle though. I would look a bit to the right and left of that corner and it would go away, but would go back to the corner and it would come back. Another night after that I was trying to sleep but was getting the feeling of being watched again. All the lights were off, so it was completely black. I really don't know why I did this, but I stood up, walked to the middle of the basement, closed my eyes and started talking. I started talking about how I was just there temporarily and that I want no trouble, and to please leave me alone. I got another feeling when I was talking that I was certain I was being listened to. I don't know by who or what, but I was. Throughout the rest of my stay after that night, I didn't have any feeling of being watched again. 2. My girlfriend's current apartment has a spare room at the front of the place. The hallway and front door is visible from the living room. A very small room for storage. Sometimes when I would spend the night and would be up late alone in the living room, I would get the urge to just look over at the hallway, and every time I look over during this urge, I get that same tingly vibration feeling in my brain. That I'm looking straight at something that isn't visible, but this time, the vibration isn't gentle, but an aggressive, strong vibration, like it almost hurts to look. My eyes would snap to a different but specific spot of the hallway every time the urge happened, like a person normally would for eye contact. There were also some times where I would go to get my shoes from that room, and my eyes would snap to a spot of the blank wall or something inside the room, and get the same vibration feeling in my brain. This still happens to this day every once in a while. It's not just my girlfriend's places that I get the tingly vibration feeling in my head. It happens at my house, and sometimes it's certain friends' houses. It's whenever I get the urge to look in a specific spot that I get the feeling. Again, it's a feeling of certainty, a feeling of knowing I'm looking at someone. Even in my house I know it's haunted, and sometimes I get the feeling of being watched, so I would just start talking out loud towards the spirits, random statements, then it would go away. I'm not certain that this feeling means I can sense spirits, but I'm open to the idea that I can. Just like how I'm open to the idea that I can't. I would like to just hear what people have to say after hearing what I've said. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Paranormal Stories, episode 303. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. If you please press the like button and share the video around, I would appreciate it. Okay, let's see. I think we're good on the shoutouts today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: as yesterday was Thanksgiving for our American friends, and we are well into the holiday season in general now, holiday traditions and foods that are perfectly normal for you that your friends in other countries kind of scratch their heads about, or at least are just mildly confused. Like here in the UK, perhaps specifically in the household in which I grew up in, it is mandatory every Christmas that you put bacon on the turkey when you cook it. You wrap it in foil, bacon, you baste it and all that. We don't really use stuffing here, although I haven't done turkey myself for years. I usually have steak at Christmas time now. The bacon would be, quote-unquote, discarded, which I mean I would sneak in when it was time to take it off and munch on it because I was hungry, waiting for dinner to be ready. Very well done, but yummy. And there's other things as well, like things that were always like, you always purchase shortbread, Madeira cake at Christmas. I personally am fond of mince pies, which the name puts a lot of people off, I know, but it's fruit that's in them. But I'd very much love to hear some of your own. Maybe I'll get some ideas that I can borrow. So please leave a comment below, letting me know what you think. And with that, I'll be heading off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.